Joining us right now to discuss this is a man who was putting up a challenge to Kevin McCarthy. He is a stalwart conservative. We're pleased to have him on the show, Representative Andy Biggs out of Arizona, Arizona's 5th Congressional District. Good to see you, sir. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
And happy Thanksgiving to you, Dana. Thanks for having me.
I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, and we're going to get into Arizona and the certification and this stuff coming up because that's oh my. But I really wanted to get your thoughts on just what we're kind of seeing, these plans, these committee appointments, investigations. Are you concerned that Republicans in the House may become so focused on, which I'm not saying that they're not important, investigating, impropriety with Hunter Biden or anything else, but I think people are broke, they're hurting, they're mad because they're having to downsize their Thanksgiving dinners, and they want to see some immediate solutions. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Well, Dana, a couple thoughts. First of all, these investigations have to go forward. I would say that that's necessary. And that's going to consume the time mostly of two committees, Judiciary and Oversight. But the other main issues, which are the reason we were elected to, why we have a slight majority, it's only a slight majority, but they have to deal with how are you going to lower gas prices at the pump? How are you going to lower winter heating fuel costs? How are you going to attack the fundamental problem with inflation, which is that the federal government just spends too much money? How are you going to close the border? Now, all those have to be addressed, but the way you address them is going to take something different than the status quo in Congress today. And the way to address those, quite frankly, is to use the leverage and tool that we have, particularly with how we fund government. And that's part of the issue, Dana, and you're exactly right. And I'll just add one more quick point to that. A lot of people don't realize this is a 10-month period. That's all we really have, because you know it and I know it, that in an election cycle for 2024, it's a presidential cycle. For whatever reason, Congress starts pulling the plug about a year early, and that they shouldn't, but they do.
Yeah. I know we're talking with Congressman Andy Biggs out of Arizona. I know that there was a lot of consternation, a lot of discussion as to whether or not Kevin McCarthy is going to get support. I know that from what I understand, you still have to do the big floor vote, and there's question as to whether or not he's got the support there. What is your thought on the direction of leadership in the House?
Well, I don't think Kevin does have the necessary votes. Nobody has 218 today.
Yeah.
And so that means that anybody can emerge. I'm still in there, I suppose. Nobody's.
You suppose you're still in there?
Well, I am. I am, Dana. I'm still in there, and it's going to take some work. And if it's not me, it's not Kevin. Somebody else will emerge. But the point is, if you're not willing to change the infrastructure of the House, so that you do use the tools, you do use leverage, you actually allow members to offer amendments, then you're going to get more of the same. And that's the problem so far that I think a lot of us are looking at Mr. McCarthy and we're saying, well, he's not unwilling to make change to the structure. And if you don't change the structure, you're just going to get more of the same. And that's going to lead to frustration and mistrust further of not just the Republicans, but the institution as a whole.
Is that what he was talking about in that soundbite that we played coming in? Or does there need to be a lot more than just switching out some of those people on some of those committees, whether it's Swalwell or Omar?
Yeah, that's performance art. I get it. And he's right. Those people need to be removed. But how about why aren't we talking about how you use the budget as leverage to get rid of the vaccine mandates in the military, use it to control the border, use it to bring down oil and gas prices by expanding oil and gas leases and reducing the bureaucracy. That's what you need to do. The second thing is, if you're going to continue to have everything go through a rules committee that he appoints, and everything's going to be adapted through 4 people, negotiated through 4 people, 2 in the House, 2 in the Senate, and then run through that rules committee that he controls, nothing's going to change. Nothing is going to change. So you can make cosmetics and say, well, yeah, we're going to go after Swalwell and Schiff and Omar, but it won't change to allow us to address the issues that American public sent us to address. And right now, that's the issue.
A lot of American people, when they watch this, a lot of voters, they're focused on what bills are coming in, paying for the roof over their heads. You know this. They're focused on how much they're paying at the pump for their commute to work. And a lot of people wonder, well, how does something like who's going to be speaker, who's going to be whip, how does this affect me? What would you do differently that would be something measurable by the average everyday person that's so far, that's not in the weeds of party, posturing for, who's going to be making this decision on what? But what would you do? What would you bring to the table that's different from Kevin McCarthy that people could see and be like, there's the change right there. That's what we're seeing.
Well, part of what's driving inflation is the way we don't budget. And Dana, we'd go back to budgeting the normal fashion, which we haven't done in 20 years.
Why? Why is that not? Why do we not do that?
Because it's so easy to just say, well, we're gonna just do these continuing resolutions. And the problem with it, of course, is there's no accountability. If you go back to a real budgeting process, Dana, that will impact federal spending. What will that do? Impact inflation levels. And that's a concrete thing. The other thing I would do is I would say we're going to use the must-pass bills. So the NDA, National Defense Authorization Act, we're going to say, look, we're going to get rid of the woke military policies. And we're going to say, if you got discharged because you refused to get the vaccine, we're not going to pass that NDAA until you're brought back in, because we're running short on military personnel. And we're going to do that, and we're going to bring these people who we've trained back into the military, give them their pay grade back and their back pay. And guess what? That will impact Americans directly. How about using your budgetary leverage to say, we're going to open up the Keystone XL pipeline immediately, start rebuilding that. And we're going to punish these bureaucracies that are preventing the development and extraction of oil and gas. We could do all of that, but it takes courage. And that's why who the speaker is so incredibly important to the policies of everyday Americans.
There you go. Talking with Congressman Andy Biggs out of beautiful state of Arizona. Beautiful state. Love Arizona. But my gosh, Congressman, what is going on with the vote counting there? What is happening? I mean, the certification, from what I was understanding, looking at some of the headlines, Maricopa was hesitant to apparently go forward with certifying votes, certifying the final results. Why? I mean, we had this problem in 2016 or 2020. They've had a couple of years, to fix any problems, make sure machines are running. I mean, I understand it falls under the purview of the Secretary of State, I guess, well, she clearly didn't do her job. What's happening?
Yeah, well, so the county is not certified yet. I could get into a lot of details, but I'll just give you a 30,000 foot. The Attorney General's Election Integrity Unit has written for an accounting from the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors and elections officials saying, hey, look, we've got all these reports of people who were, their votes were suppressed, there was, malfeasance, et cetera. We want these answers before you certify. So the fact that the AG's office is getting involved indicates there's some pretty serious issues there that went on. Not to mention, there are literally thousands of affidavits of people whose ballot was not counted, or they were told one thing that was illegal. And part of what's going on here is it looks like the elections officials violated state statute with regard to what you could tell people and how you conduct the election. So all of this is a mess, once again, in one of the nation's biggest counties with 5 million people, Dana. And so it's phenomenal to me. And it's important because we have several elections that are still very close. Mm-hmm. And they were still counting votes on Saturday.
Still counting votes on Saturday. That's just insane to me. I mean, not to rub it in or anything. I mean, Florida had a hurricane, or tropical storm, I guess, by the time it made landfall coming in. They were able to get everything counted, put to bed, but at the same time, they did learn a very rough lesson, though, way back in the early aughts after the hanging Chad incident. So they had a lot of encouragement to make sure that they got it right. Congressman, so you're still in the running, talking to Congressman Andy Biggs, still in the running for House Speaker. That still could happen. Got to get to that magical 218 number. So you're in it to win it, correct?
That's right. That's
okay.
Right.
All right. Just checking. Just doing a check for the people listening across the country and in your state of Arizona. Congressman Andy Biggs, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Dana.
Of course. Take care.